Much ado about nothing. William Shakespeare. Characters, summary and analysis. Hello and welcome to the discourse. Today we will discuss one of the early comedies by William Shakespeare. Much Ado About Nothing was written and performed in 1599. The play was highly popular and the pair of Benedick and Beatrice remained favorite for centuries. The major characters are Don Pedro, who is Prince of Aragon, and his two friend soldiers, Claudio and Benedick. Leonato is the governor of Messina and Hero is his daughter. Claudio desires to marry Hero and Hero also loves Claudio. Beatrice is niece of Leonato, a cousin of Hero. Don John is the bastard prince, brother of Don Pedro, and he is the villain. Margaret and Ursula are waiting maidens of Hero, and Balthazar is an attendant of Leonato, who is a singer. Dogberry and Verghese are constables, and Friar Francis is a priest. Borachio and Conrad are soldier companions of Don John. Another important character is Antonio, uncle of Hero, brother of Leonato. Shakespeare took inspirations from Edmund Spenser's Fairie, Queene for the subplot of Hero and Claudio. However, the witty, merry war between Benedick and Beatrice were completely original characters and plot which was much admired by the public. The play is set in the city of Messina. A messenger comes and informs Leonato about the return of Don Pedro from a successful battle along with Claudio and Benedick. Beatrice questions about Benedick and mocks him as an inept soldier. Leonato observes that there is a merry war between her and Benedick. When Don Pedro arrives, Leonato requests him to be his guest for a month, and Don Pedro agrees. Claudio sees Hero, who is very beautiful, and he couldn't control his feelings. He shares his intentions to marry Hero with Benedick. Benedick is against marriages and he tries to dissuade Claudio. Don Pedro, on the other hand, supports marriage and encourages Claudio to court Hero. Benedick vows not to marry ever, but Don Pedro mocks him and says he will marry when he will get the right match. Benedick and Beatrice continue their merry war with witty comments against each other, while Don John is introduced as the jealous brother of Don Pedro. He is the bastard brother of Don Pedro. Don Pedro arranges a masked ball dance night in which he plans to woo Hero on behalf of Claudio. Don John overhears his plan and decides to spoil the plan by informing Claudio that Pedro is trying to woo Hero for himself. However, Don Pedro removes any such doubts and asks Leonato to offer Hero's hand in marriage of Claudio. Leonato agrees and Claudio and Hero's marriage is fixed after 2 days. Don John realizes that Claudio is a weak link and decides to dupe him and make him believe that Hero is infidel. Don Pedro and Claudio discusses about the continuous witty bickering between Benedick and Beatrice and feel that they are a good match and should fall in love with each other. They plan a trick. They make Benedick overhear them about how Beatrice is impressed by him and actually loves him deeply. On the other hand, they make Ursula and Margaret, who are the maidens of Hero, do the same trick on Beatrice. Ursula and Margaret discusses how Benedick is in love with Beatrice and wants him, and this love is the reason behind their continuous merry war of witty words. As Beatrice overhears them, she starts feeling love for Benedick and decides to stop her quarrel with Benedick and accept her love for him. Benedick also decides to do the same as he overhears Pedro and Claudio. Don John decides to ruin the happiness and plans with Borachio and Conrad. Borachio woos Hero's attendant Margaret, and while he is love talking with Margaret in Hero's chamber, Don John tells Claudio and Pedro that Hero is not a virgin and takes him to Hero's chamber, where Claudio and Pedro overhear and see Margaret and Borachio through a window while believing that Hero is inside the room with Borachio and not Margaret. Claudio is distraught. Don Pedro and Claudio decide to reject Hero. On the day of marriage, Claudio blames Hero of infidelity and rejects the marriage, and Pedro also supports him, as he also saw Margaret and Borachio engaging in amorous talks behind the window of Harrow's chamber, while believing that the girl was Harrow and not Margaret. Leonato, being distraught, blames his daughter Harrow instead of supporting her. Harrow faints, and because of the shock, she falls. Friar Francis, the priest, doesn't believe that Harrow did any wrong. He completely supports Harrow, and he convinces Leonato of Harrow's good character and plans to mend things and get Claudio and Hero married. He tells Leonato to spread the fake news of Harrow's suicide. Benedick meets Beatrice and discusses the sad happenings of the day. They confess their love for each other. Beatrice asks Benedick to revenge the death of Harrow and kill Claudio. Benedick is hesitant, but he agrees at last. Benedick goes to meet Claudio, who is remorseful and blames him for the death of Harrow, without confirming if she actually was disloyal. He challenges Claudio for a duel. On the other hand, Constables Dogberry and Verghese overhear Borachio and Conrad about the treachery of Don John and how they fooled Claudio in believing that Harrow is infidel. Dogberry comments that it is the most able piece of lechery that ever was known in the Commonwealth. Dogberry and Verghese arrest Borachio and Conrad, and despite being inept officers, they somehow succeeds in taking a confession from Borachio against the ill plan of Don John. When Don John comes to know about the arrest of Borachio and Conrad, he runs away in hide. Dogberry and Verghese go to Claudio and Benedick and inform them about the treachery of Don John and how innocent Harrow was forced to commit suicide because she was wrongly implicated of disloyalty. Claudio is distraught and anguished. In his sorrow state, he promises to marry the girl whom his father had suggested. Claudio is surprised and happy when it is revealed that his father asked him to marry Antonio's daughter, who is none else but Harrow, who didn't die and pretended to be Antonio's daughter. As all things settle in peace, Benedick and Beatrice announces marriage, and Don Pedro chides Benedick as he is now a married man. Benedick in return tells Pedro to find a wife for himself too. A messenger then arrives and informs Don Pedro that Don John has been arrested. Beatrice requests Pedro to postpone the hearing and sentence of punishment to John for some later date, as this time is to celebrate and the play ends. The title of this play continues to draw a lot of attention. During the Elizabethan era, noting and nothing were near words, so the title suggests that a great fuss or much ado have been made about nothing. Another meaning of the title can be a great fuss about woman. During the Elizabethan era, nothing was used as a double entendre and a slang, meaning an o thing or a nothing between legs, indicating vagina. Another implication of the title could be much ado about nothing, where noting means overhearing, spying, and eavesdropping. Firstly, Pedro and Claudio use noting by Benedick and Beatrice to make them fall in love. On the other hand, Don John continues noting about Pedro and other characters to find a way to create trouble. Claudio and Pedro come to the conclusion about Harrow's character after noting the fake talks of Borachio with Margaret from behind a window in Harrow's chamber. So this was all about much ado about nothing. We will discuss 3 more plays of Shakespeare before concluding this playlist and the age of Shakespeare, and then we will move towards Francis Bacon, another important literary hero of the Elizabethan era of English literature. Thanks and regards.